Welcome. I have the pleasure to welcome you to the release of the CoReflect Toolkit, which is developed by Cluster for Co-Creative Service Design and Innovation, which is a collaborative cluster consisting of 16 participants from research and universities, from the private companies, we have healthcare providers, and also user organizations. My name is Anita. I'm the project manager of the cluster, and together with Marikken Høiseth, we have collaborated with this with our partners for the last 5 years. We are in the final of the collaboration period and will end this summer. We have a website, CCSDI.no, where you can get info about the cluster, and we also have a Facebook page. So I give the word to Marikken.
Yes, welcome everybody. It's nice to see many people are joining this webinar. As Anita said, my name is Marikken Høiseth, and I work at the design department at NTNU, which has been a main partner of this cluster since the beginning. One of the main aims of this cluster has been to explore, document, and evaluate co-creative service design as an approach to innovation in health. And one main finding that we have that we are working on presenting now today is founded on that we see there is a lack of simple and practical tools for evaluating co-creative work and processes in health, and some tools that can be used by practitioners, facilitators, and students, or anyone else who would like to facilitate co-creative and collaborative sessions. There is a need to still design, and we have started this process. And Liz will, together with Jonathan, tell you more about this. So Liz, please take the word.
Okay, if we could go to the next slide. My name is Liz Sanders, and I'm on the faculty in the design department at The Ohio State University. And I've had the pleasure of working with this group for the entire project, and it's been a great project. Jonathan and I are going to talk a little bit about the process by which the Reflecto Toolkit was created. So this is a byproduct of the best practice project. Next slide. And in the best practice project, during one of the cluster meetings, I believe before COVID, we settled on the idea of exploring, well, what is best practice in healthcare service co-design? And it seems like a simple question, but the answer was not immediately clear. So is best practice related to the process of co-designing? Is it related to the outcome of co-designing? The more we thought about it, the more questions emerged. Next slide. And so part of our process then was to do a meta review of the literature. And we looked at, there were hundreds of articles on the list that might be relevant. We settled on 23 that were the most relevant. And on the right, you can see that we were plotting the sort of the purpose of these articles on a grid with academic knowledge on the right, practical knowledge, academic knowledge on the left, practical knowledge on the right, large scope on the top, and small scope on the bottom. And if you squint your eyes, you can see most of the work in relation to assessing co-design practice was very large scope, abstract, and it tended to be sort of on the academic side. So we noticed there was a gap on the practical side of useful tools to work in the field. So this work is ongoing. We're writing some papers as well, but the co-reflective toolkit is one of the outputs of the best practice project. Next slide. And how this looks in relation to the overall assessment of best practice is we're looking now at very quick, simple little tools that can be applied throughout the process. I'll just let Jonathan take it from here, and he'll talk about how we came up with the current set.
Thank you, Liz. So taking this as the kind of as since our focus turned towards those very quick assessments that may take place during a design process, we were actually asking ourselves, okay, so how can we encourage these assessments to happen more frequently? Because we believe that if there is kind of infused this kind of reflexive feedback loops into those processes, they may then become better and better as you go, and therefore, creating a better or a best practice within that certain context that these processes are taking place. So we thought, okay, let's try these things out. So we actually threw ourselves out into some experiments. So first we engaged some students from the Oslo School of Architecture and Design to test out different ideas. And we were kind of entering COVID time, so everything happened online from that point. And we did like small experiments where students were asked to develop quick evaluation and feedback tools that they would then take into to concrete processes that they were engaged with, and test them out and provide us with initial feedback. From that point, we gathered the cluster representatives from the design companies that are affiliated with the cluster, and we arranged for 2 workshops with those initial experiments, and we further developed some practical ideas about how one could go about evaluating such processes as they go. And so we ended up with the set of preliminary tools. They were then coined out as typical cards that one could use in a co-design setting, evaluating different kinds of aspects of what was going on, such as how did we cover the topic, how innovative have we been, and how does the idea relate to existing initiatives and structures. So these are just some examples of the first kind of, the second iteration of those evaluative cards. And then with help from partners from CCSDI, students from the Ohio State University, and from NTNU, we actually did yet another test run with those different evaluation tools, and then gathered even more information about them, and had the chance to iterate once more. And so this is kind of the backstory of how these tools came about in several iterations. And now we're super excited to finally be able to launch what we've named the CoReflect Toolkit. So next, it's my pleasure to give the word to Dima, and she will present herself, and she will guide us through the toolkit and explain how they're thought to be used. So please, Dima.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yes, thank you. Yes, my name is Dima. I'm one of the newest that have joined the cluster last year. I work as a consultant, design consultant here in SINTEF, together with a few also that are in our group. And I will, if you hold on with me, share my screen I see someone is already in there. So do you see my screen? Yes. Yeah. So here we have 2 versions of the tool. I will walk you through the English version, but just so you know that this is available, that we have it in Norwegian and in English. We have here a little description of how this tool is used and what the purpose of it is, as also Jonathan and Liz has already mentioned. And after a few iterations, so this was the final packaging that we had. We have 6 different categories. The toolkit's content has 6 different categories, of which each has subcategories and subcards that can be used. So I will give just a quick examples of each, and hopefully everyone will get to explore that eventually after as well. So for example, we have a category on building relations. So the importance of in co-creation of how you can collaborate and participate together in a session or in a workshop. So we have an example of, for example, trust, how was trust built in that session? Or, for example, exploring what kind of group dynamic did the participants experience and explore in their session. We have also things about time, which is also quite an important element of sessions, of being included in sessions. The usage of time when it comes to the, let's say, depth of themes. Was it relevant? How deep was it? And also to gain more and more insight, to get the participants to give more feedback on each one of these themes when it comes to activity pace or depth and quality for us to improve this in the next session. We have also things, a category based on sharing perspectives. So sharing in the group and during the session. How well did the person participate or felt included? Things about giving and receiving. How much did you feel like you gained from this session? But also how much did you feel like you gave in this session? So this is more of also reflecting on individually, but also on how one experienced the session. And the other categories we have also about exploring and creating. For example, if one thinks about exploring if there are any foreseen challenges in the future, but also if there are if the group is headed towards the right direction. So yeah, other examples, which is of course always open for more, for adding more, but we have also added an activity for material and space. So when it comes to co-creative sessions, there's always material that is being used. So how did that necessarily support or help during that session? But also I have more of the general feedback that has to do more with what did you like and what did you not like, and how could you make this better in a way. Yes, and this is also available. So this entire kit has also been available on the CCSDI website, where one can either like explore here just to see what could be relevant for the session that one is about to hold, but also one can have access to a PDF here where one gets the entire access to what we saw now on Miro. At the same time, so this is also the aim is to make this also available on something called Miroverse, which is a repository of multiple different initiatives for activities on Miro. So that will be available during March, and hopefully you will get a link definitely to get access to it. So it would be easier to get like a template in Miro already instead of using the PDFs. Yes, so with that being said, I see a few of you have been also exploring in, so that is nice. I think that link was in the invitation as well, if anyone is interested. And yes, next will be Celia. Are you there?
Yes, hi. So we'll have a short breakout session to just explore and discuss a bit on on how we might use the tools in our everyday work life, which can be very different. So maybe you're a designer and arranging and facilitating workshops, but then maybe you work in healthcare or in university or in a company of different sorts. But the setting is that a lot of us cross disciplines will have co-creative meetings and can use these tools, whether you're a designer or working in healthcare or in different businesses. So we've prepared some questions for discussions, and we'll do a short mini breakout session. And I'll just share the screen shortly to show you what we will be discussing. So hopefully managing this, yes. So we'll be working in breakout groups, and the first assignment is to discuss what are possible benefits of using the CoReflect Toolkit. We were thinking about, because this is a very short session, so we were initially thinking about, okay, what could be benefits, what could be challenges, but then we thought, okay, but this is very short, so this is a bit, this is to keep it concise. We focused on the benefits, so bear with us for that. So discuss this question in groups, and then if you want to, you can also make notes on post-its in Miro. But the idea is that you don't have to interact or use Miro actively. You can just do a discussion, and if you want to make notes, you can also make notes on paper. But we're a little bit ahead of schedule, so we said 10 minutes discussion, but then our suggestion is to think a little bit individually first. So if you think through your work life and in settings that you participate where you're working together with someone on making something, or it could be a service, but it could also be just a meeting where you're working together with someone else in trying to figure out a challenge, or so it doesn't have to be making a physical product or service. Sorry, just Teams acting up. So for this assignment, please work individually for 5 minutes first, and then to just think a little bit and make notes, and then discuss in groups. And then after 10 minutes, there's a 5-minute individual assignment where you look at these questions. So these are questions from the toolkit. What did you like today? Write something that you liked about today's session. And do you have any suggestions for improvements? What could we do differently in launching the CoReflect toolkit? So please also consider these questions in the light of the entire webinar. So also including this, the breakout groups. So you can write your thoughts here, or you can just think about them and write them on paper on your desk. And then in the end, we'll have a Q&A session. So we won't be able to get feedback from everyone, but it's very nice if someone has a question or something they would like to share, or to give some input. So just to summarize, we'll do 2 assignments. And so first, an assignment where you think for a few minutes individually, and then discuss for 10 minutes. And then we'll send a joint message on Teams that 10 minutes have passed, and then you'll work individually. And as mentioned, you don't have to use Miro, but but it's an advantage maybe to be able to do what I'm doing now, to pan. So to pan, please hold your space bar, like the long one, and then press and click and hold and drag. So that's how you pan. And if you want to zoom in and out, I totally understand if someone doesn't get this, and then you can contact me on chat. But then if you want to zoom in and out, you can hold the control button and then zoom in and out on this one. So I think that was what we need to know at this moment. So Marikken, would you please divide us in groups? And please, if you have any questions, come back to the main room or text me in chat.